This was a new one for me. Part of the worship team at Faith Free Church in Fort Collins, Colorado. Had never played in church before, but shouldn't be complex, right? I had heard the songs millions of times on Sunday morning, and between you and I, worship music is not what you'd call really complex music, right? Just open chords, G, C, D, E minor, no problem. And on top of that, I was the lead player, which meant that I could just sit back, relax, and just play my lead over whatever the worship leader was doing. So here we are. The first song starts and I play my lead and I completely ruined it. My solo was all over the place. I didn't stop at the right time. I was playing when I shouldn't, and I didn't play when I should. It was a complete mess. And worst of all, I was the center of attention. If there's one place you don't want to be the center of attention, it's at church. So I went back home thinking about that, and I thought about it all day long. What went wrong? It's not really that my playing was bad. Was hitting the right notes. My technique was okay, but it didn't fit. And I just had this overwhelming feeling that I did not do a good job. And then it just kind of hit me. It was my heart. My heart was not in the right place. When I was playing that morning, I was approaching that like a typical gig. And that's where things went wrong. See, I was approaching this like kind of a guitar showcase because that's all I had known my whole life. I don't mean this in an arrogant way. I don't mean this as in, hey, look at myself. But there's still part of my brain as a lead player that thought my job is to entertain. My job is to, support the song, but I'm still the lead player. And then I started thinking of all the other times, all the other gigs I played that went wrong. And most of those times, it is because of a heart issue. So when my heart is not into what I'm playing, my playing sucks. All right, flash forward to the following Sunday. Same exact songs, same exact guitar, same gear, same everything. But this time I decided to take a moment before playing and set my heart straight. So the first song starts and I just close my eyes for just a few moments to get into that zone. Just to kind of remember why I was here. I was not here to show people what I could play. My job was to worship with the congregation. And I was definitely not on stage to bring attention to myself, but I was there to bring attention to him. So something happened during those moments of silent prayer before playing. My body started to feel more relaxed and I felt almost like anxiety being lifted away from me. I wasn't anxious about hitting the right or wrong notes. I wasn't anxious about my technique. I just was very relaxed. And I didn't play anything for the first minute or so. I just kind of let the worship leader do his thing, get into the zone, make sure that before I played anything, my mind, my heart, and my soul was in the right place. And then I started playing. And my playing was very different from what had happened the previous week. So musically, it was super simple. Just a few notes were enough. Not because playing less is always more, but in that setting, my musical being felt that that was just a natural response to what I was hearing and to what I was feeling. Now, here's another thing that is very interesting that happened. Even though I was playing with the same exact guitar, the same exact gear, the tone changed quite a bit. There was something in the way that my fingers were putting contact on the strings that changed that tone. And we all heard that before, right? Tone is in your fingers. It's true. And in this case, I didn't have to try to change my tone. It just naturally changed because my whole being was really in that moment. My feelings were matching musically where I was. What happened is that my fingers were very connected with my heart, and they automatically adapted on the fretboard to match what I was feeling inside. And the way they translated that spiritual connection I had with God and with my worship was a softer touch, maybe a wider vibrato. And again, all of that wasn't a conscious decision. It was just my body, in this case, my fingers, just being very connected with what I was experiencing at that time. Okay, so that church gig completely changed my approach to music, improvisation, playing in front of others, and all of that. So I started using that mindset in other musical experiences. Well, let's try this. Here's a backing track, and I'm going to try to attach to what I'm hearing an experience that I have had. So for some reason, this is a personal thing, but for me, I remember a time in the early 90s when I was coming back from school, walking through downtown, and at the time I was sad because I had broken up with my girlfriend, and I was kind of having mixed emotions of being sad, but also having hope for the future, thinking it's gonna be okay. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of. I could still see the buildings. I could still, if I close my eyes, feel the coldness of the air. It was late November, and just kind of feel these emotions. This is gonna help me as I play. I realized that that experience that I had, those emotions might not be the ones that come to your mind when you're hearing this, and that's completely okay. It needs to be something personal. That's the whole point. So remember, I'm no longer playing here. I'm remembering that time. Easing into it. Kind of building in intensity a little bit, just because that's where my emotions are taking me. Still really picturing myself at that moment. Now, there are times when you hear something and you just can't put yourself in a situation you've experienced in the past that matches what you're hearing. Like this, for example, I can't really relate to this in a personal way. That's when you come up with a story. When I'm hearing this, you know what comes to mind? There's this old school point-and-click adventure game called Leisure Larry Suite. It's a series of games. That's what I'm thinking of. The guy is kind of like a balding seductor type of guy who's trying to seduce girls, and it's funny. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm just going to imagine, I'm going to picture that character walking, you know, kind of a sleazy guy with a suit. I could picture it. Well, I'm going to use that story or that thing, mental image, as I'm playing. Because I'm thinking of Larry, I'm not thinking of the notes so much. I'm thinking of confidence, kind of quirky, and that's kind of reflected in my notes there. Because I think that's how Larry would play. See a little weirdness there with a flat 5. Once you have that story, you simply need to apply some very simple improvisation concepts. And I have a few of my favorites right here. I'll meet you in this video. Combined with what we talked about today, magic happens. I'll see you right there.